Overlook Horizon High Altitude Balloons, an Ontario County nonprofit.
This is no ordinary balloon.
What a view!
Over 110,000 feet.
This is incredible.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launch.
Hey guys, Tori here from Overlook Horizon. Welcome to CRS-14 today, SpaceX launch for the Crew Resupply Mission for the International Space Station. We're live today. We're here in Rochester, New York. We got another SpaceX launch going off today. We were just live on Friday for the Iridium 5 launch, and now we're going again for another one here today for the Crew Resupply Mission. This is a little bit different than what we normally see because we got a Dragon capsule on board and on top of the Block 4 booster that we're launching today. So we're about 27 minutes, just under 27 minutes from launch today. So to give you an idea, in case you haven't followed one of our hosted broadcasts here yet, I'm going to go through a couple things here that I got ready to kind of explain what we got for the mission. We should see the SpaceX broadcast come up about 15 to 20 minutes before the actual launch takes place. And that will be right here over my shoulder, and then we'll make it full screen. We'll get it all nice and big so everybody can see it, and then we'll watch, we'll listen, we'll talk, we'll chat along. If you're following along, we are broadcasting on both Facebook and YouTube at the same time, so I'm trying to monitor both sets of comments as we go along. So send us along a comment. I'll get to as many of them as I possibly can. I usually can get to them all. But glad to have everybody with us. So you see that in the YouTube chat here, we already got a whole bunch of hashtag Space Lobsters coming in, which I love to see. A couple of our regulars, Gregorius, I see in the comments. Good to see you. Tyler Daniels, Alex, everybody here has joined us. Russell as well. Thanks guys for hanging out here. And so what are we talking about today? Like I said, this is CRS-14. It's a crew resupply mission for the International Space Station. And let's dive right into it here. So afternoon launch today. Here's our mission patch for the day. Kind of a cool little shape there. But yeah, a little afternoon launch here. It is a pretty short launch window. I'm pretty sure before I started saying that I should have checked, but I think it's a 1-second launch window, which is usually pretty typical for International Space Station missions for these crew resupplies, since they do have to meet up with the International Space Station. So, yeah, 4:30 and I think like 38 seconds or something like that is when they're expected to launch today. There were a couple concerns that they were looking at earlier today, which I'm also monitoring my Twitter machine here. We had some showers popping up to the west of the launch site, but they were all staying pretty stationary as far as where the actual precipitation was occurring. And there is a launch rule that SpaceX will not launch through precipitation, so hopefully those stay to the west and don't come over the launch sites, because we can't launch through precipitation. And so that's the big weather thing that they're watching today. Also just saw that some of the 45th Space Wing weather officers are also watching some clouds that are 8 nautical miles from the launch pad. There was no lightning in them, but they are watching that as well. It looks like that just came through just now as we were talking here. So so it looks like we got some precipitation, some big anvil type clouds that may potentially have some lightning going on that we're watching today. So far everything is still go. Haven't heard of any constraints yet. And then on top of all that, you know, we also had a wayward boat that was in the launch area that was getting chased out by a helicopter that I saw on Twitter as well. So we got 3 things going on. Nothing so far is constraining us. A couple things that we've got to make sure go right in order to get this thing off the ground. But those are the 3 things we're watching. 2 weather things, and we got to get this boat out of here that's in the hazard zone. So hopefully everything's good. And yeah, Gregorius says hopefully there's no NOAA involvement today. Yeah, nobody sent NOAA the SpaceX stream. From what I heard, the NOAA issue the other day was a licensing issue. Apparently this has always been around, except the fact that somebody at NOAA, it may have been spurred by some of the Starman stuff from Falcon Heavy, who knows, but they directed SpaceX that their upper stage camera footage is no longer considered an operational video camera for operations purpose. It's a remote sensing camera, and so it needed a NOAA license in order to show that on the broadcast. So we didn't get to see that on Iridium 5. They blocked the upper stage footage from being shown. That was a super bummer, and everybody was pretty surprised by that, myself included, because all the previous launches showed the upper stage footage no problem, even on Iridium. So it was a weird thing to come up on the last launch, and apparently it's been in place since like 1992 when NOAA started doing this licensing, except nobody really enforced it as far as SpaceX's upper stage goes. They really just enforced it for orbital, satellites that were in orbit. But apparently, this second stage, they wanted to they want it to be licensed now. So I believe today shouldn't be affected. So hopefully we should be all set and good to go for today. We'll see everything that they generally show for the crew resupply missions here. So anyways, here's our mission patch. But since we're talking about the last Iridium flight, you might as well just throw a little piece of news out there that we didn't talk about last time, which is that the fairing, which they originally said this was on the West Coast, it was supposed to be caught by Mr. Steven. They didn't catch it, but Elon originally put out that it slammed into the water at high speed. Apparently, it actually survived. So Elon tweeted this picture out of the actual payload fairing half that survived on the Iridium 5 launch from the West Coast. So today, they're not trying to recover this. The Mr. Steven boat that they have for this is only for West Coast launches. West Coast launches. Today is an East Coast launch from Pad 40 at Cape Canaveral in Florida. So no fairing recovery. This is also, they're not going to recover the booster as well. That's a shame. Usually they do. They bring it back to LZ1, the landing zone, not the drone ship. Usually they land back at Cape Canaveral, but not today. So they are expending this Block 4 booster today. Likely they're going to try some experimental landing parameters or approach parameter, something that they can experiment with. They are expending a lot of these extra boosters that they don't need, because we are coming up on the start of Block 5 boosters, which is going to be kind of the final iteration. I hesitate on the word final just because there will likely be changes in the future, but NASA, in order to fly national security payloads, needs a frozen configuration in order to certify them to fly these national security payloads. So the Block 5 booster will get frozen in place, and they won't be making those configuration tweaks to it, like changing the grid fins or the landing legs or things like that. They really want to make sure that if they're going to fly these high sensitive, high value payloads, that they're not changing things around that might jeopardize the mission. So this is still a Block 4 booster. We are expending it, but we are expecting Block 5 to happen later this month, towards the end of April. I think April 24th is when we're expected to see the first Block 5 booster fly. That was last that I heard. Let's see. So we got fueling complete. Just wanted to make sure, because I haven't seen, usually they at least kind of start the intro screen. Wanted to make sure we weren't delayed. Somebody said, oh, there we go. So they just came. It must have heard me. But anyways, so what we're looking at today, I got to mute this in my ear here because that's going to be distracting. We'll switch over to it once I actually start talking, but a couple things just to take a look at. Here's our Crew Dragon, or not Crew Dragon, our Crew Resupply Mission with the Dragon capsule on top, with all our supplies heading to the space station. Did I say Crew Dragon earlier? I didn't mean Crew Dragon. There's no crew in this yet. We're not going to see that till later on. Maybe the end of this year. We'll see. There is a couple people commenting on the NASA coverage. There is NASA coverage that has already started. NASA started about 10 minutes ago. I'm going to use the SpaceX coverage, which is what I usually do, is use the direct link from SpaceX. We could have showed the NASA stuff, but then you don't get to hear my beautiful voice, right? That's what you all come here for, I guess. So anyways, this was a look. I don't know if this was today or yesterday, of the the Falcon 9 booster getting ready for today's mission. You can see the bottom, the booster there is pretty dirty looking. They do not repaint these. This is a reused booster. This was reused for the Crew Resupply Mission number 12, and the Dragon capsule is reused from the Crew Resupply Mission number 8. So CRS-8, and that's actually, I was trying to get pictures of what's happening here today. This is actually a picture of CRS-8. So that is the exact Dragon capsule that they will be using today for this mission here. And so what I wanted to what we're really looking at here, we're not gonna see this here today during the webcast, but you know, generally when the Crew Dragon goes up, they're going to it will separate from the upper stage, and then the space station grabs onto it with the Canadarm 2, and they do that really for safety reasons. They don't want these unmanned capsules trying to live dock with the space station. So usually cargo missions like this that are uncrewed, they will grab them with the Canadarm instead of actually trying to live dock right directly to the space station. They have berthing ports that I believe are much larger than the regular crew docking ports, so they can fit supplies in and out a little bit easier. So anyways, let's see. A couple people had commented, is this live? Yes, we are live. But of course, if you're watching this later, then it won't be live. So, but yeah, it's April 2nd, 4:13 p.m. Eastern Time. We're launching at, what time are we launching? 4:30 and 38 seconds, I believe, is what the launch time is. Oh, I said Crew Dragon again. Somebody said, my mind is on the Crew Dragon. I'm so excited for Crew Dragon. Dragon capsule. I hopefully will not say Crew Dragon again. This is not a Crew Dragon. There are no people on board this. This is a Dragon capsule with supplies on board. I'm sure I'll say Crew Dragon again at least 10 more times, but I'll try not to. So anyways, for today, 58th SpaceX launch overall, 52nd launch for the Falcon 9 rocket, the other 6 launches being 5 Falcon 1 rockets, and of course the 1 Falcon Heavy rocket. So those make up the other 6 of SpaceX's total. This is the second flight for this first stage booster. It also flew on CRS-12. This is the 11th reuse of a Falcon 9 first stage, 3rd reuse of a Dragon capsule. This Dragon capsule, like I said, reused from CRS-8. This is the 7th SpaceX launch of 2018. Let's see, what did we have? I'm going to miss some of them. We had Zuma, Poth, Falcon Heavy, Hispasat, Iridium 5, this one, and what's the 7th one I'm missing? I know GovSat. Ah, yes, GovSat 1. So those are our 7 flights of SpaceX this year. That's going to get harder as the year goes on. I'm probably not going to do that as much. 31st SpaceX launch from Slick 40, Space Launch Complex 40, and the 14th mission in the CRS contract with NASA. That's this particular contract. There are actually other contracts. There was like the COTS-1 and COTS-2. Don't remember what that stands for. That does not include those. This 14th mission for just the CRS contract with NASA. So anyways, those are kind of our little facts for today. And sounds like an 80s hair band, Crew Dragon, live tonight. I like that. That'd be a good name for a band, right? Crew Dragon. Here's our timeline today. I don't expect them to, we're not going to show the whole, they're not going to show the whole thing with the docking to the space station. Not today. Because that's way off. That's hours into the flight. But today we're already into propellant. Propellant fueling is started with RP1, which is the rocket grade kerosene, the rocket propellant 1. That is already started, and for the most part is for all intents and purposes done. They will still they do some top off later, but liquid oxygen loading is in progress here. Things are good. Oh, and it looks like they're starting here. So we'll go down to countdown. Down to 0, we'll see max Q about a minute into flight. First stage, MECO is going to be 241, and then we'll hopefully see second stage and second stage cutoff, which they didn't show us on Iridium because of the NOAA restriction. So hopefully they will still show us that today. So, all right, let's switch over. That's kind of the last thing here I got to show, but we can always come back more after they launch. We'll talk more, but let's get over. Let's get over a full screen here and get the volume up so you can hear it. Oh, I got to turn.
April 2nd.
There we go.
And you are looking at a live shot of Space Launch Complex 40. Where the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket is about to launch our Dragon spacecraft, towing 5,800 pounds of cargo to the International Space Station. My name is John Federspiel, and I'm a lead mechanical design engineer here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. I am thrilled to be here with you to cover our 14th cargo resupply services mission to the International Space Station. Today, for the second time ever, we are flying both a flight-proven first stage and a flight-proven Dragon. That means both the first stage and Dragon have gone to space before. And with T-minus 12 minutes and 30 seconds and counting, all systems are go at Cape Canaveral.
All right, so I got to correct myself right off the bat because I'm pretty sure I said crew resupply mission about 15 times too. Cargo resupply mission is what I should have been saying, because I keep thinking the Crew Dragon. It's not a Crew Dragon. There's no crew on board. Cargo resupply mission. Oh, man.
As I mentioned previously, both our first stage and Dragon spacecraft have gone to space before. That Falcon 9 first stage, it looks a little bit sootier at the bottom there. That's because our refurbishment process does not involve us scrubbing that first stage to make it nice and clean. That first stage flew on August 17th, 2017 for our CRS-12 mission, whereas the Dragon spacecraft on top of the vehicle flew on April 8th, 2017 for our CRS-8 mission. Both Dragon and Falcon 9 were designed up front with reflight in mind, so the vehicle hardware is built to support multiple missions with minimal refurbishment in between. As I mentioned previously, the Dragon, the first stage, looks sootier, whereas Dragon, as you see it on your screen, looks brand new. That's because we refurbished the thermal protection system, or TPS, on the exterior to give it that nice white, brand spanking new look as you see it now. For today's mission, SpaceX does not plan to recover the first stage. Instead, we're going to be pushing the limits a bit on our return trajectory so that our first stage can collect additional data that will help inform our future reusability efforts.
Like the sound of that.
We are going to be performing a landing sequence out in the Atlantic Ocean to gather that data, but there's no drone ship in position for recovery. That means that you may hear some countdown call-outs on the countdown net regarding first stage entry, but for our webcast, we will just be focusing on our primary mission. That will be the second stage's journey into orbit and its eventual deployment of Dragon as it makes its journey to the International Space Station.
Just laughing, reading all the YouTube comments come in about me keep saying Crew Dragon. Hashtag cargo lobsters. Hashtag
T-minus 10 minutes and counting right now. The good news is we continue to be on track for an on-time launch, tracking no issues at the moment. This is a Dragon mission, which means we are constrained with an instantaneous launch window. What that means is Dragon, Falcon 9 must lift off at this T0 mark. We don't have an open window with which to recycle the countdown and go again. It's instantaneous because we're trying to time our launch to the point where the International Space Station will be just about directly overhead Cape Canaveral. And then Falcon 9 and Dragon will be basically trying to catch up to the space station with eventual capture at 4 a.m. Pacific time on Wednesday.
Yeah, I don't want to burst your bubble. We're not staying live until 4 a.m. on Wednesday. But I'm sure we'll have Twitter updates out there. But we'll see. We'll watch the launch here at least, and at least all the separate, well, as much as they show, and then we'll chat for a little bit as well. Hashtag cargo lobsters. No mistakes allowed on the internet. Ah, you guys are ruthless to me. I love it. Yeah, so I do like the idea that they said they're going to be pushing the limits today. I doubt they'll show it.
The most significant portion of today's countdown started at the T-minus 70-minute mark, where our launch control team was pulled at Cape Canaveral to enter into the propellant loading sequence. Now, as you may recall, in order to make fire, you need 3 elements: fuel, oxygen, and an ignition source. Our fuel for Falcon 9 is RP1, that's refined kerosene. And as we're sitting right now, both our first and second stages are nearly full of RP1. We will continue to top them off up until about the T-minus 5-minute mark on that first stage. We also carry densified liquid oxygen that's cryogenically cooled. That's actually those clouds coming off the rocket. That's the liquid oxygen boiling off. Right now on the pad, we're sitting at nearly full of liquid oxygen on our first stage, and about 95% full, 90% full on our second stage. We will continue to load liquid oxygen up until about the T-minus 3-minute mark. We also load on helium on board both stages. That's what we keep the tanks pressurized with as we're emptying it of propellant. Dragon, meanwhile, ready to go. It began its auto sequence at T-minus 35 minutes. That's where it begins its coordinated timing. It's moving into internal power, just transitioned that period right now. Everything looking good to go there. Range, also ready to go. Weather, looking pretty good. We were tracking some anvil clouds earlier, but it looks like any constraints that could affect today's launch will be actually after our T0 mark. Weather team is continuing to monitor these anvil clouds, but as of right now, no constraints for today's mission. So overall, we continue to be go from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station.
Awesome. Yeah, well, for anybody staring at my face during all that, I keep laughing at all the comments coming. Jill on Twitter sent me a message at OLHCN, said, "What? No hashtag space lobsters after dark?" Yeah. Like, first of all, it just sounds all kinds of wrong. We don't want space lobsters after dark. But second of all, no, I
11 years ago, Dragon was just a design on a piece of paper. But in 2010, SpaceX became the first private company to send a spacecraft to orbit and return it to Earth. 2 years later, in 2012, soon after I started at SpaceX, a Dragon became the first privately developed spacecraft to visit the ISS. Since then, we've made a total of 13 trips to the space station, and we're under contract with NASA for a total of 20 cargo resupply missions. We are currently flying cargo to the space station, but ultimately, we will fly astronauts on crew missions, with our first crew demo mission slated for later this year.
Right, there it is, Crew Dragon. See,
our Dragon mission today is conducted in close coordination between NASA Mission Control at Johnson Space Center, also known as JSC. And on your screen, you're looking at a live view of Mission Control at JSC in Houston, Texas. The team at JSC there are monitoring today's launch, as well as coordinating the activities with our international partners of the space station. Dragon is packed with almost 5,800 pounds of research, crew supplies, and hardware headed to the ISS and its 6 crew members. Let's take a quick, closer look at what we have on board Dragon today.
SpaceX's 14th commercial resupply mission to the International Space Station will mark the first opportunity of 2018 to replenish this U.S. national laboratory in low Earth orbit with new and exciting research. Let's learn more about some of the featured investigations and facilities that are destined to station as part of this mission.
490 Biotech will examine anti-cancer therapeutics through a novel bioluminescent kit. This research could have far-reaching impacts on the drug development process, to include the timing of when therapeutics come to market. 2 student investigations as part of the Genes in Space flight competition will be evaluating various DNA experiments aboard the space station. Students from across the country have the ability to submit DNA amplification experiments through this program, which is sponsored by the Boeing Company. The Materials International Space Station Experiments Flight Facility, or MISSI, was developed by Alpha Space. This exciting facility will enable academic, commercial, and other government agencies the ability to put materials experiments on the outside of the space station, exposing these experiments to the extreme environment of space. The multi-use variable gravity platform developed by TechShot includes 2 internal carousels that simultaneously produce artificial gravity. This facility can be used to conduct research in space with a wide variety of sample types. A CUBE satellite mission developed in partnership with NanoRacks will focus efforts on the ability to remove debris in low Earth orbit. The mission will deploy 2 CubeSats as artificial debris targets to demonstrate technologies such as net capture, harpoon capture, and vision-based navigation.
This mission provides an assortment of research on space station that will benefit life on Earth, and will also bring new facilities to the International Space Station to further enhance our capabilities in low Earth orbit. And we wish our partners at NASA, SpaceX, and all of our principal investigators the best of luck for a great year of research in 2018.
Follow at ISS_research on Twitter for more information about the science happening on station. Along with bringing cargo to the ISS, an equally important function of Dragon is to return back experiments. Dragon is the only operational spacecraft capable of returning significant amount of cargo to Earth. The good news is, Dragon has given us the thumbs up. Its vehicle is ready to go to space. And with just under 2 minutes and 40 seconds in today's mission, Falcon 9 has finished topping off its propellant loading. We've wiggled our engines, doing the thrust vector control checks on both our Merlin vacuum engines, as well as the 9 Merlin engines at the base, bringing us into T-minus 1 minute, where Falcon 9 will enter into startup. The rocket will take control of the countdown at the T-minus 1 minute mark. So we're gonna go silent over here on the webcast and let you listen in to these final 2 minutes of today's mission.
Well, they might go silent, but I'm gonna talk. Somebody, Gregorius on YouTube asked what RP1 stands for. RP1 is Rocket Propellant 1 or Refined Petroleum 1. They're kind of interchangeable, get used interchangeable. So either Refined Petroleum 1 or Rocket Propellant 1. It's a refined rocket grade kerosene that they use
Falcon 9 is on internal power
as the main fuel here. And also somebody asked, what does OLHCN stand for? Yeah, Overlook Horizon. OL is Overlook and the HCN is Horizon. I don't know. That's what we came up with. Yeah, a couple
vehicles
of
and self-align.
Some CubeSats going on today's mission.
Gas closeouts.
Pretty exciting here. We're about just under a minute and a half coming into launch here. So far, no constraints. Some big venting going on, completely normal. That's the liquid oxygen being vented here. That's totally normal for this stage. You see it coming out of the vertical tower there, the support structure. That's very normal for them to vent liquid oxygen.
is ready for launch.
AFTS, automatic flight termination system.
Falcon 9 is in startup. Ground gas closeouts.
Dragon is in startup.
And then just keep an eye out at 0. You should see a green flash at the bottom. That's the T-tab. That's the igniter. See a short green flash, and then we'll see ignition. So just keep an eye out for that. I always find that interesting.
Launch directors go for launch.
Here we go, under 30 seconds. Vanessa on Facebook says, good luck to the crew. No crew on board. Launch crew, baby. But no crew on board this flight. This is just cargo. Just cargo today.
2 minutes, 15 seconds.
Falcon 9 is configured for flight.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0. Ignition.
There we go. We're off. Yeah. Love that shape. Great.
Falcon 9 is on its way to delivering the Dragon spacecraft for its 14th commercial resupply services mission. Coming up in about 10 seconds, we have max Q, maximum aerodynamic pressure. That's one of the highest stress states on the vehicle.
Vehicle is supersonic.
Max Q is 108 right here. This should be max Q. We should hear that call out here in a second.
Vehicle is experiencing maximum dynamic pressure.
There's the max Q call out.
Just passed through max Q. This first stage burn will last for about another minute and 10 seconds.
Yeah, so the next event we're waiting for is right about 241 was the expectation. 241 is that first stage engine cutoff, and then 4 seconds later we'll see first stage separation.
As we leave Earth's atmosphere, you'll notice the exhaust plume gradually expanding.
Back engine chill.
Just heard the call out that the upper stage engine, the Merlin vacuum, has begun chilling in, similar to how we chill in the 9 Merlin engines before the initial liftoff of the Falcon 9.
Yeah, so we mentioned how that rocket plume gets bigger. You get in the upper atmosphere, you got less air pressure to hold everything together, so that rocket plume just kind of, the exhaust plume just fans way out and gets nice and wide. It looks pretty awesome on like dusk or dawn launches.
Now coming up in rapid succession, at about T plus 2 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll have MECO, or main engine cutoff, followed by stage separation, followed by ignition of the upper stage engine. Let's watch.
And then watch the engine bell on the second stage. There's a little stabilizer ring that'll break off when the upper stage fires. It's intentional, but I like watching that.
Stage separation.
Watch the upper stage, you see the stabilizer ring break off. Maybe. There it goes. There goes the stabilizer ring.
And what you just saw there was a successful shutdown of the 9 Merlin engines of our first stage, followed by separation of our first stage from our second stage using 4 pneumatic actuators at the forward end of the stage. And then after that, you saw ignition of our upper stage engine. You may have noticed a piece of metal flying away from the engine. That's a stiffener ring that protects the larger Merlin vacuum nozzle on ascent. That's totally nominal. And on the left side of your screen there, that's actually the Dragon nose cone that it's popped off and it's falling back to space.
That's cool to see too. See the nose cone heading out. A lot of times you see the payload fairing on regular satellite deployments. You see the payload fairing in the background there.
Dragon nose cone falling off, totally nominal. That's exactly what we want to see. We use that nose cone to protect the forward end of Dragon on ascent through the aerodynamic, the atmospheric drag we see. That's a good sign. That means we're outside of the atmosphere, so the forces on the forward end of the vehicle are significantly reduced.
Some weird camera artifacts going on the right-hand side there. I don't know what's happening there. But we should also hear call-outs for that first stage because they are going to simulate landing, push the boundaries, do some experimental landing attempts. They're actually not going to land it. There's no drone ship to catch it, but they are going to simulate the landing towards the ocean, do some experimental re-entry burns.
About 2 minutes into our second stage burn. If you're just joining us so far, the first stage had an on-time launch, just like we like it. A nominal ascent profile, good separation from our second stage. Now that first stage is performing an experimental landing maneuver. We're just gathering some data on this into the Atlantic Ocean. We do not have a drone ship out there in the Atlantic Ocean, so we are not covering this portion of the phase, though you will probably hear some callouts in a few minutes on entry burn of the first stage. Since that's not our primary mission and we're not intending to recover that first stage, we will just be focusing on second stage right now.
Let me start over. It's a shame they don't actually show that, because I would love to see the first stage just careen into the water and just... I'd love to see it. I mean, even though it probably doesn't look good for SpaceX, but I don't know why it wouldn't look good. They're testing. It's experimental. You got to do it. But I wish they would show stuff like that, even when they're not going to recover it, even if it was from a distance, like a ship way out. Because there is, I forget what the name of the ship is. Go something. It is out there observing this. So even if you saw it from a distance and you just see it come down and explode in a blaze of glory, I would love to see that, but they never show it when they're not landing.
Coming into T plus 6 minutes. This second stage burn will last for about another 3 minutes. Our target, if you want to keep an eye, that speed, we're going to about 27,000 kilometers per hour. That's orbital velocity. Second stage's job is to get Dragon to orbit. First stage's job was primarily to get us out of the Earth's atmosphere.
Somebody, did I say exhaust bloom? Somebody said, I'm waiting for the exhaust bloom. Did I say exhaust bloom? I'm just full of...
Second stage does its precise orbital maneuvering by using two thrust vector actuators. They're contained within that reflective blanket, and they allow us to adjust the engine's position, affecting its pitch and yaw. And then we have some nitrogen thrusters on the forward end that allow us to adjust the vehicle's roll.
I'll just say like exhaust smoke from now on. We use a highly technical term and say, see that exhaust smoke? Anyway, I wasn't ready for him to just stop talking. It's a couple. Are they landing the first stage? Nope, no landing today. Well, simulated landing, but there is not actually a drone ship out there, so they will not be doing that. Next event that we're expecting here that they should be showing is at
power and trajectory continue to look good. Engine performance continues to be nominal, as we like around here.
9 minutes and 3 seconds is when we're expecting the next event, which is second stage cutoff. That's SECO. So right about 9:03 is when we expect that. Then you'll see. Then the Dragon capsule will be separated, and then the solar arrays deploy at about 11 minutes, and that's about all I expect.
Stage 1 AFTS has saved.
All I expect to see. So that call out AFTS has been saved. That's the automatic flight.
We are coming up shortly in about a minute here on SECO. That's a second stage engine cutoff. That's the point where the second stage in Dragon will be coasting. Dragon will then do a quick checkout, and then it will be deployed from the second stage about a minute after that point in time.
Yeah, so we should, hopefully they show, I don't know how much they'll go into actually showing the Dragon capsule. Yeah, we got about 30 more seconds of this burn here, and then we should be in the initial orbit.
Terminal guidance.
And then they will gradually raise the orbit to meet up with the space station. They'll keep it low for now, and then, like I said earlier, 4 a.m. tomorrow is when they'll actually dock with the space station. Using
15
the
seconds
arm.
left into stage 2's burn.
Stage 2 AFTS has saved.
There's the stage 2 AFTS, the automatic flight termination system, meaning it's been saved, meaning they've deactivated that system there.
And we have shut down of the second stage engine.
Yes, you go.
You saw the speed tick up to about
shutdown.
27,000 kilometers per hour. We're going to coast here for about a minute, and then Dragon will separate.
Good. Stage
Nice.
2
Yeah, hopefully
orbit.
they
And we just also got the confirmation that we are in a good parking orbit of our second stage.
Why do they have a drone ship label on there? I don't know what the drone ship label is. It wasn't
Coming up
in the right
on Dragon
spot,
deployment in about 15 seconds.
and 2, there's no landing today. That was weird. So 10:03 is the separation here. Estimate, so hopefully any minute, any second.
And that is a view from the forward end of our second stage, looking inside Dragon's trunk as it separates from the second stage. Those are 3 of the science experiments we're taking up to the International Space Station. You can see those 3 different boxes inside. Those are 3 of the experiments we're bringing that will be attached on the outside of the International Space Station once we berth.
Yeah, and then looks like the last thing they're probably going to show will be the solar array
It's about T plus
deployment.
10 minutes and 50 seconds into today's mission. On the right side of your screen, you see Dragon gently separating away from our second stage. We are coming up on our solar array deployment in about a minute and a half. That's where the fairings that protect the solar arrays will be released, and then our solar arrays will be slowly rolled out like a bit of an accordion, and then they will begin their pointing maneuvers. Right now, Dragon itself is checking out its thrusters. We are priming up the thrusters to make sure we have control over the vehicle first. We want to make sure we have control over the vehicle before we deploy those solar arrays. If you're just tuning in, second stage and first stage put Dragon into a nominal trajectory. We are in a good parking orbit right now. You are looking at the Dragon spacecraft with Earth in the background, looking through at the camera on our second stage, on the forward end of our second stage. Second stage itself will perform a third burn maneuver, which will put it inside the Indian Ocean for disposal. While we wait, right now we're waiting for Dragon to unfold its solar arrays. Dragon does need its solar arrays in order to conduct its full mission. It is a 2-day journey to the International Space Station. We have capture coming up Wednesday at 4 a.m. Pacific time.
Oh, Wednesday, 4 a.m. I thought, for some reason, I thought they said tomorrow. But yeah, Wednesday, 4 a.m. So that'd be not 4 a.m. tonight, next night.
Those white clouds you're seeing in the space, that's just some venting that we naturally do as we are in space. And coming up now, though, we're still waiting for solar array deployment. If you're just tuning in, Dragon had a nominal mission thus far. It looks like we're hearing some cheering.
Sounds like so.
Waiting to see the confirmation. There they are. Those are the solar arrays unfolding from Dragon. That's actually the back side of the solar arrays. You can see the wire harnesses that connect the different cells together.
You see a top folding out there, too.
What Dragon will do now is make sure these solar arrays are working, and then at T+3 hours, our GNC bay door will open. That's where we begin the precise pointing and navigation systems to get ourselves on our way to the space station, after which point in time, we will conduct a number of height altitude and orbital adjustment burns, eventually leading to that capture on Wednesday. And so to recap, we had a perfectly nominal mission, as we like around here. Falcon 9 performed its job splendidly, delivered Dragon to a perfect parking orbit. Dragon has since unfolded its solar arrays. You see that live view from space. That's certainly my favorite view from space of Dragon missions, of our solar arrays with Earth in the background. So because we're at this point in time, we're going to conclude our coverage for today's mission. We would like to thank NASA for today's mission, the Range, Cape Canaveral Air Force Station for their support, the FAA as well for their support, and most importantly, you, the viewer, for tuning in. If you would like to come and join us, please check out SpaceX.com/careers. Our mission doesn't end here. There are many more days to come leading up to the berthing with the International Space Station. Capture will be at 4 a.m. on Wednesday. You can check out all of that coverage on NASA TV. But if you'd like to follow along with us, be sure to follow our social media, Instagram or Twitter, as well as SpaceX.com. We will keep you updated on the mission's progress. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
All right, well, there we go. That's the end of the SpaceX coverage there. Nice little closing view of the solar arrays, nice and deployed. Seems to be completely nominal. Obviously, those will get checked out and make sure that they're actually working normally. But seems to be completely normal. They did unfold completely. Looks fantastic. So they're done with their portion here. But we'll stick around. We'll talk a little bit more. Lower that volume a bit. Daryl sent a message to us on Twitter at OLHCN. Said, "What did he say about Wednesday? I missed it." Wednesday is going to be the actual docking or the berthing of the Dragon capsule. I got to be careful not to say the Crew Dragon. The actual docking of the Dragon capsule to the space station. They will not do like a live dock where the actual capsule docks directly to the space station. What they do is they bring it up nice and close, and then the crew on board the space station will grab the Dragon capsule with the Canada arm to actually pull it in and attach it to a berthing port where they can fit a little more. I believe it's a little larger than the actual crew docking ports, and it's also a little bit for safety as well. They don't want these unmanned vehicles doing these automatic live dockings directly to the station. If something were to go wrong, there's no crew inside to take control. and they don't want to pose a hazard to the actual space station, obviously. So there, we'll pause that. We'll kill that sound there. So anyways, good launch today. Everything went about as well as you could expect. So no issues. Our wayward boat got out of the way. It didn't present an issue. Our weather wasn't an issue as well. So that held off long enough for us to actually get this thing off the ground. And so things are good. So now, as far as what we're looking at here, and I'm going to come back to some of these comments because I see a whole bunch of comments coming through. I'm going to come back to those in just a second. I guess one thing that I didn't get a chance to get to before the launch. Oh, I don't think I have a screenshot of it or a graphic. Thought I had a graphic, or I meant to have a graphic. We'll just throw this up on the screen. But in terms of the actual payload, the payload breakdown, so they got this payload itself. Where's my press kit? 3,900 pounds of cargo is what we're putting up, and now, of course, my other document has has everything in kilograms. I thought I had the full weight in kilograms. Oh, there it is. Payload mass is 2,647 kilograms, and the way that breaks down is there's 344 kilograms of crew supplies, 1,000. Does this add up right? Yeah, it must add up right. 1,070 kilograms of science investigations, 99 kilograms of spacewalk equipment, 148 kilograms of vehicle hardware, 49 kilograms of computer resources, 11 kilograms of Russian hardware, 926 kilograms of unpressurized payloads. That would be things like those 3 science experiments they showed on the underside in the Dragon's trunk area, as they call it. So that's what we saw on the camera there. So that's kind of what the breakdown is for what's on board. And then, so this is in a lower parking orbit that is a little bit lower than the space station's orbit. It's in that orbit because it can travel a little bit faster than the space station. Being in a lower orbit, it will travel faster, and it will catch up to the space station in that lower orbit. And then they will gradually raise that orbit up to the same orbit that the space station is in after they've caught up to it, or they kind of do them simultaneously. But they gradually raise that orbit up to the orbit of the space station. So they'll do the actual Dragon capsule and that little service module bit there will do a series of burns to actually catch up to it, or actually the burns won't be to catch up to it, but it will be to raise the orbit. So they'll do some orbital corrections and then raise the orbit, get up to the space station level, get captured, transfer that. They'll transfer some more. The onboard crew will transfer basically the stuff that they want to send back to Earth, and then the Dragon capsule will return. When is the return date? Who knows what the return date is? Anybody know what the return date is? I can look that up. But instead of me looking it up, let's see. Somebody look it up. Let me know. I'm going to read the comments here because I wanted to get back to some of those and see what you guys are all saying here. Gregorius said, "Oh, I called it the exhaust bloom because it looks like the exhaust is blooming on high altitude." Oh, okay. I thought you were saying that I called it the exhaust bloom. I thought it was another space lobster or Van Halen belt, or what else did I say earlier today? I don't know. I'm on a roll here with misspoken terms today. So let's see what else we got here. OLHCN, you have 30-second delay between SpaceX. Yeah, there is a delay in my feed because I get the feed here, and then we're transmitting it back to you all through the magics of the YouTube machine. But yeah, it's usually on YouTube. It's about a 30-second delay. On Facebook, for whatever reason, it's a shorter delay. To my Facebook audience, it's only about a 10-second delay. So I couldn't tell you why, but yeah, 30-second delay for if you're watching on YouTube, and 10-second delay. It's not a delay that I impose. If you go into like your YouTube settings and say, they actually give you an option, do you want to have a delay? And in my settings, there's no delay. It's 0 delay. But it still ends up being delayed by the time it gets to the YouTube, through the YouTube pipes. Then there is about a 30-second delay is Usually, yeah, Gregorius says should be about 20 seconds. Yeah, I think in my I was testing it the last time. I think it was about 20-second delay from when I speak to when you see it. And if you're on Facebook, it's about a 10-second delay. So that's what it is. Let's see. Do you think they accept game programmers? Assuming you're talking about the careers, sure, why not? There's relevant experience there. I'm sure they would take it. Let's see. When are you launching your weather balloon? Well, we did one already. We did Overlook Horizon 10, launched about almost 2 weeks ago now. So we did one that was a small experimental one. Now we're just waiting on weather to do our larger one, which the payload is this orange box over my shoulder here. Up there. It's like way back there. But that guy, which has got cameras on board, that will be launching. We were going to launch it Saturday, but the weather's looking a little bit shaky for Saturday launch. So that's kind of up in the air. I don't think it's going to go on Saturday. We were hoping to launch it on Saturday, but I don't think that's going to be the case. It may get delayed until later in April, but we'll see. Watching the weather today and tomorrow to find out. And then unfortunately, or I guess it could be fortunately or unfortunately, we will not be launching the week of April 14th because the week of April 14th, I'm headed to Kennedy Space Center to watch the NASA test launch for the next SpaceX mission that's headed out. That will be the next SpaceX launch on April 16th, and I will be down there starting April 14th for their NASA social event. So I'm headed down to the Kennedy Space Center. We'll have some live footage from down there. We'll have some, hopefully some video footage from inside the Kennedy Space Center, some video footage, some photos from the SpaceX launch, assuming it goes on time. And then I've heard they may do a return to launch site landing at LZ1 for the first stage booster. So I don't know. It's still, I haven't seen that officially announced yet, but I will be down there at least, and hopefully we'll see that live launch of the NASA test mission on board the next SpaceX Falcon 9 launch, April 16th. So keep an eye out that weekend, and we'll definitely have some footage from down there. Mike says, bring a lobster with you to Kennedy. I should bring a lobster with me. That's a fantastic idea. I'll bring the space lobster. The lobster's up here. I can't reach it at the moment because I'm wired in, but there's our space lobster that will fly on board one of our flights, probably May time period. But yeah, so the next Overlook Horizon weather balloon mission, Overlook Horizon 11, maybe Saturday, maybe. A lot of wind Saturday. It's going to be hard. We'll see. Kevin says, are your launches public? Yeah, most of them are for sure. The last one was not. That was kind of a low-key launch that we just put up. But most of them are public. Usually when we launch the big camera ones, those are public. Usually we do them here at the local high school. But yeah, those are public. We definitely welcome anybody to come hang out and check it out and ask questions, things like that. So yeah, feel free to attend if you're in the Rochester, New York area. Hey, this is Will from Twitter. Really enjoyed the stream here. Maybe one day I'll work for SpaceX. They're doing some awesome stuff. That would be fantastic. I would love to work for SpaceX too. Just no jobs in this area, and I kind of like the area. So, but yeah, it'd be. I'm sure SpaceX will be expanding. They get into the BFR stuff. Maybe they're gonna bring maybe they bring a facility to Rochester. Who knows? I don't know. But no, I just love watching all the stuff, watching these rockets go. Fantastic. And to see the landing stuff too is fantastic. We haven't seen a landing in a long time. It seems like there hasn't been a landing. They keep expending these boosters. They're trying to get rid of some of these this extra what do I want to say, inventory of all these boosters that they have getting ready for Block 5. So it seems like it's been forever since we've seen a landing. So I don't know. But hopefully the next landing for NASA tests, maybe, don't know for sure, which is the one that I'll be down there for. I'm pretty pumped about that. So Gordon says, I hear that the Dragon will be back around the beginning of June. Okay, that's good to know. I did not see, I had not seen a date for when the Dragon will be back. So Gordon says around June time frame is when the Dragon will be back. So so it'll stay up there for a while. Obviously, you know, we're only in April here. So 2 months, and then they'll bring it back. So that's what Gordon says. June time frame is when it's coming back. Let's see, Kevin. Awesome. I'm just outside of Buffalo. Awesome. Yeah, we actually launched. We helped the National Weather Service in Buffalo, right at the Buffalo Niagara International Airport. We launched a weather balloon with them back in November. Probably try to do another one, maybe in the springtime, maybe in the summer. I don't know. But we've got some friends over at the National Weather Service in Buffalo, so maybe we'll be over there launching with them sometime in the next couple of months, because that's always fun too. See how they do it as well. Let's see, what else are we am I missing here? I want to make sure I covered everything for today's launch. Yeah, we covered cargo and payload amounts. They've got a lot of live plants and animals on board. They didn't really mention that, but there are plants and animals on board. Animals being, it's not like they're sending up, you know, I don't think there's any monkeys on board or anything, but they, you know, usually little microbials or microbes. Somebody that's a biology person probably know the correct term that I'm trying to reference, but let's see. And then a variant of the Dragon spacecraft called Crew Dragon is being developed for the US-based crew transport to and from the space station. So that's a Crew Dragon that I kept mentioning earlier. There's a Crew Dragon test in August, and then I think the first crewed mission is scheduled for December. Right now, Boeing and SpaceX are in a little bit of a battle for who's going to be the first to put astronauts back up. I think Boeing's first crewed mission is for the what is it, CT-100, C-100? Forget what the actual abbreviation is. Maybe it's CTS-100, Crew Transport System. I don't know, that sounds right. That's scheduled for like October, November, fall time frame. Boeing's trying to be the first one up. I'm sure there's a little bit of pressure at SpaceX for them to be the first one up, but hopefully there's no jeopardizing safety. You know, we've seen in the past some of the pressures to be first and it jeopardizing safety. So hopefully everybody does it safely, but pretty pumped to see, well, both of these companies really return the U.S. astronauts to the space station from U.S.-based flights. That's always nice to see. Not that we have anything against anybody outside the U.S., but there's nothing in the U.S. right now to transport U.S. astronauts. We got to rely on outside resources. So anyway, let's see what else we missed. The ISS capture event is going to happen with the Canada arm. That's the robotic arm attached to the side of the space station. That's going to grab the Dragon capsule. That will be Wednesday morning around 4 o'clock in the morning. So not tonight, like I said earlier. Oops. Not tonight. The capsule will be Wednesday morning. So tomorrow night in the overnight hours. Not going to be live for that. That's way too early in the morning for me. The Space Lobster doesn't operate at those types of hours. Oh, and yeah, so I guess the other thing that I did want to mention, we've mentioned it before in some of the others, but in case you're not familiar with the layout of the Cape Canaveral area, so this launch today was from Launch Complex 40, which if you're looking at the map, might be tough for you to read the text. It's a little bit tiny, but all those red dots are all the Launch Complex platforms on Cape Canaveral. Starting at the top is 39B, then 39A, and then 41, and then Launch Complex 40. So the fourth red dot down is Space Launch Complex 40, which is where this flight launched from today. Then there's a whole bunch of other launch complexes as well along the coast that a lot of people don't realize. A lot of them have been decommissioned and are not in use today. Some of them look pretty rough. Some of them have been converted. I'd have to look up the numbers exactly. But at least 2 of them have been converted to landing zones instead of launch complexes. 2 of them are LZ-1 and LZ-2 for SpaceX. I think that's, I wanted to say it's Launch Complex 12 and 13 that have been converted to the landing zones. So that's, yeah, there's a bunch of them there. And then the text that's along here kind of outlines the historic nature of them, because you've got obviously a lot of the Saturn V and the space shuttle stuff that happened from pads 39A and 39B up at the top. You have the Titan rockets that were launched from 41 and 40. You got some of the Apollo Saturn 1B rockets from 37 and 34, and then you get down to the lower ones, which had the Gemini missions, the Mercury missions, the Atlas. There's some Atlas and Centauri, and then some Delta pads as well. You got Mercury Redstone all the way at the bottom. There's all kinds of stuff, but it's always interesting to see all these launch complexes or launch facilities down the coast of Cape Canaveral. There's a reason why they call it the Space Coast, because look at all these places they've launched from. So anyways, that is one other thing I wanted to mention today, or at least point out, because I like to point out for these East Coast launches just how many launch facilities either are down there or were down there at one point. So kind of interesting. So anyways, so that's pretty much our mission for today. I say our mission like I'm involved in it. It's the SpaceX mission for today. My mission was to bring you some entertainment without screwing up too much. And hopefully I've done that for you today. But I appreciate everybody sticking around and joining in the launch. Do we have anything else that we want to cover? Anybody got questions? Let me just take a look at the Facebook. I didn't see any other Facebook messages. Gordon says, OLHC. Sorry, I don't catch that you will be not making live from Tesla launch. I don't follow that question, but I will be. I'll definitely do something live from the TESS launch site. I am going, in case you missed it, I am going to be down at Cape Canaveral at the Kennedy Space Center watching the NASA TESS launch live in person myself. That is the next SpaceX launch that's happening on April 16th. I'll be down there beginning on April 14th. As long as I got bandwidth, I will be doing all kinds of, I'm going to be doing all kinds of stuff from down there at the Kennedy Space Center. So hopefully, as long as I can do it, I will be uploading photos, videos, live broadcasts, whatever I can do. I'm going to try to do it all. I'm going to have all my gear. Well, not all my gear. As much of my gear as I can take with me, I'm going to have. So, let's see. Somebody said, D-Suits. D-Suits says it's CST, Crew Space Transportation. Okay, that's the Boeing one. CST. I said CTS. I was close. CST 100 is, that's the Crew Space Transportation. That's the Boeing capsule that they're trying to launch. It can launch on many different rockets, but SLS, Space Launch System, won't be ready. That's the next bigger rocket than Falcon Heavy 2020 question mark. Yeah, well, I thought the, I don't know what it's launching on. What is CTS, or I say CTS, CST 100? I'm pretty sure that's launching in the fall, but let's look it up. Yeah, let's see. Bear with me 1 second. We're going to look this up. We're going to find an answer once and for all on. This is May. I'm looking at schedules. I could probably show this to you while I'm looking at it, so you can see what I'm looking at. Yeah. So here, you can't really see it. My mug is in the way. Here, we can at least get rid of this. We don't need that anymore. Let's see, Delta 4, Area 5, Soyuz, Delta, Antares, Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy. Oh, I thought the Boeing was going. I could have swore I thought the Boeing was going to try to go up, but don't. Oh, here it is. CST 100, Starliner Orbital Test. Oh, that's the test flight in August. So that will not be crewed. That's an unpiloted test flight on an Atlas V. So maybe it's the Atlas V that will be launching the one that I think is crewed. SpaceX CRS Falcon Heavy. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'm making it up. I don't know. I could have swore that CST 100 was going to launch, or at least try to launch. Here's our Crew Dragon demo. That's the Crew Dragon capsule on it, but an uncrewed test flight. That's in August time frame. Oh, I don't see it on here, at least not on the schedule. Well, I can find out more. We'll have more for the next broadcast, but But yeah, the CST stuff that we were talking about, maybe it's, well, at least the test flight is going to be on Atlas V. So maybe it's an Atlas V that it's launching on? I don't know. Let's see. What else did I miss here on comments? Which, of course, I just showed to everybody. Not like you can't see the comments anyways. They're right there for you to see. But let's see. What up? Kevin, Gregorius mentioned, Kevin said the Overlook Horizon launches are public, but there's no webcast from the balloon. Yeah, unfortunately, we have no live video from the actual balloon itself. We're not that sophisticated quite yet. We're working on it. We're getting there. Working on most of the radio tracking systems currently, trying to get a pretty reliable tracking and sensors, and also try to keep it inexpensive and lightweight. That's kind of our main mission at the moment. But we will get into live video from the balloons themselves. I'm certain of it. I do know, and we've tested and played around with live Let me get this out of the way. This is bothering me. We've tested, and we can successfully get live photos from the payload. Although we don't do that at the moment, just because I don't think it's that impressive quite yet. But maybe we'll do that. But we can do live photos from the flight, just not live video. I would like to just skip the photo step and go right to live video. So at some point we'll be doing, I'm certain we'll be doing live video from our actual flights on board our weather balloons. It'll be fantastic. I think it might be tough because a lot of the amateur bandwidth that we have available to us inexpensively is pretty limited. So probably be a really low resolution video that we're talking about. But yeah, that's that's our plan. So, do you like Justin Bieber's songs? I don't know what that means. I got nothing against Justin Bieber. I'm not really a Bieber fan, but I don't know where that came from or what that's related to. Looking up, crewed flight for the Boeing CST-100 is in November. Check the NASA schedule. Okay, yeah, that's more in line for what I thought. Yeah, that's the crewed flight. Let's see, Boeing CST-100 crew flight. Yeah, I thought it was October, November time period. So this is from, who said that? Schloss Ritter. Oh no, he said something else. Alan Lloyd said crewed flight in November. Yeah, the August 27th is the unmanned test. Ashwin, I just threw it out there. I think he's talking about the Justin Bieber question. And was that just to get me completely derailed on a Justin Bieber topic? I felt like I had to read it because it was completely out of left field. We're talking about space flight and NASA and Boeing and then Justin Bieber. Okay. Let's see. Commercial crew Boeing crew flight test mission, says Alan, in November. Yeah, where is yeah, so NASA says in 2000, yeah, in test for 2000 or on schedule for 2018. I still don't see the November mention. NASA flight schedule. Sorry, you're just gonna stare at my face while I'm Googling around. NASA launch schedule. Let's see. August, September, November. Ah, yeah, there it is. Crewed flight. Here, now we can show you. Let's switch over to here. Ah, this is what I was thinking. Yeah, here we go. Commercial crew Boeing crew flight test. This is a crewed mission. And so that's target date for November. It's doing the uncrewed test in August, the crew test in November, and then it's got the SpaceX demo missions here. The crewed and the uncrewed, August and December are the two tests. Those are the crew missions for SpaceX as well. So I imagine you'd like to think that maybe there's not a crazy amount of competition there, but I'd be willing to bet that there's a bit of competition between those two agencies to get the first American astronauts back to flight. I mean, not the first astronauts to flights, because we've done that already, but at least returning to flight for U.S. astronauts from U.S. launch providers. So yeah, that's what I thought it was October. I was going to say October, November timeframe. So yeah, it looks like November is the current target date for the Boeing crewed missions. And then SpaceX's crewed mission is targeted for December. So exciting times. It's pretty exciting there. So that's what's on the schedule coming up. So anyway, let's see. Did we miss anything? Jill says, thanks at OLHCN on Twitter. That graphic in NASA Kennedy is much clearer than the last broadcast. Oh, okay. I'm glad that came up clearer. It's always tough, especially when you're doing it live, to make sure you get something of quality, because I can't really adjust that on the fly. So I'm glad it came up better. Let's see. Nice live. Thank you. Get work for a radio station, mate. Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. I'm sure I have a face for radio. I appreciate it. Glad everybody's here watching along here. CST crew space transportation, but also Central Standard Time was my point. Oh, okay. I see what slosh. I like the sound of that. Schloss Ritter says he was confused by the CST. Thought Central Standard Time, but no, CST, Crew Space Transportation. That's the Boeing capsule that will take crew. I believe I didn't even look, but I believe it's on an Atlas V, rocket, at least to start. Atlas V rocket will take the CST with crew to the International Space Station, scheduled for November, is what we found out today. So when are they going to Mars or the Moon? I don't know if we can answer that yet, but hopefully soon. I'd like to see that sooner rather than later, because I just love the idea of expanding our horizons and getting back to the Moon and getting to Mars and doing all this exploration stuff. I love that. Hopefully sooner rather than later, but I don't have an answer for that yet. Sounds like it's not going to be until the early 2020s, maybe even late 2020s. But hopefully sometime in that 2020 decade there, we'll get people to the Moon, maybe to Mars, something. I'd like to see us step foot on something outside of Earth. The Moon, Mars, one of those, either one. I'm good with either. All right. Well, I appreciate, appreciate everybody for hanging out while we chatted a little bit. We talked about the upcoming Boeing missions. We talked about what SpaceX has got planned. Make sure you're following us. You're subscribed to the channel. You're following on Twitter. Twitter seems to be the method that I'm getting most of our communications out with. So make sure you're following along on the Twitter machines and the YouTube webs to make sure you stay up to date, because the next thing well, there's two more things you should see from us in the very near future. One is Overlook Horizon 11, which will be our next flight with this payload here. Got some cameras on board, planning on having 2 cameras on board out each side. That's usually, we've got 2 configurations that we do pretty regularly. It's either 2 cameras out the side, or sometimes we throw in a 3rd camera that faces the balloon. This upcoming one's probably only going to do the 2 cameras just facing out the sides, and that's because our Overlook Horizon 10 payload failed during the landing, and so we're likely planning on putting that same payload, the little micro payload with our little itty bitty tiny circuit board here, which is this guy, that will be on board on board this as well, but likely. The plan is we're just going to kind of hang it off the bottom, and I don't think I can reach any of my resources for that. But basically, there's these little holes on here. I don't know if you can see that. There's little itty bitty holes there. We're just going to attach this to the bottom of that box and let it hang down below to test all the temperature, its temperature handling capabilities. So we'll be adding a little bit of weight to have this and the batteries on board. So in order to compensate for that, we're going to take a camera off. So no upward facing camera towards the balloon, but we'll still have the 2 cameras facing outwards. We do 2, sometimes 1 doesn't work. sometimes you want to see the view on the other side. So we'll have 2 cameras on board for that flight. So Overlook Horizon 11 is the next big thing coming up for our launches. Could be Saturday. I would think more likely we're probably looking at late April, probably around like April 21st time period is when Overlook Horizon 11 will launch. And then the next big thing for us, other than that, is my trip to Kennedy Space Center, which is happening on April 14th. I'll be heading down there, and then the SpaceX launch on April 16th for the NASA test mission. Hopefully I have lots of live videos, photos, all kinds of stuff from down there. So make sure you're following along for that, because I think it'd be pretty cool. I'm pretty pumped about it. Hopefully you guys are excited to follow along with me, hang out, see what it's like to go tour the Kennedy Space Center and watch one of those, watch a SpaceX launch live. Pretty pumped about that. So, so those are the big things coming up here. Did you ever find, Schloss, I'm probably butchering the name, but I just like saying it that way. Schloss Ritter says, did you ever find the Overlook Horizon 10 payload? No luck so far. Just waiting on, see if somebody finds it. There is contact information on it, so maybe somebody will find it. If you missed it, Overlook Horizon 10 worked beautifully all the way up to balloon burst. Balloon burst came plummeting down. We got 1 transmission, and then that's it. Didn't hear from it again. Likely the batteries for this, so we didn't fly this guy inside a styrofoam box like we do with this guy. So likely the batteries froze up. We do use Energizer lithium batteries, which are rated to super cold temperatures, but they're only rated to -40, and we were at like -60 when it failed. So likely the batteries froze up. It's also possible maybe the antenna ripped off, got tangled in the payload string, and it just ripped it off the circuit board. That's possible. I seem to think the batteries maybe died. But we're going to try some things to try to protect those on the next flight. But no word yet on Overlook Horizon 10. Maybe as it warms up, somebody will find it and give us a call. There's a phone number on there if they want to call it. And we offer a cash reward if you find it. So yeah, those are the big things coming up for us. But that's it for today, for today's SpaceX launch, which went off, looks like without a hitch. Everything seems to go well. Follow along on Twitter. We'll probably talk more about the Crew, I almost said it again, Crew Dragon. No, the Dragon capsule with the cargo. We'll probably tweet out some more information in the coming days as it docks with the space station Wednesday morning. So follow along with that. And if you got any more questions, if I missed anything, tweet us at OLHCN or send us something cool with hashtag Space Lobster on it. Love to follow. I love to see all those creations that people send to us. And if you're really feeling generous, we're a 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization. So any donation you make, if you're in the United States, is 100% tax deductible. Helps us with our mission of getting science in the hands of kids and even adults here in the United States. We spread it outside the United States too, but from a tax deductible standpoint, only counts if you're in the United States. So if you're feeling generous, tax deductible donations can be made at overlookhorizon.com/donate, or just head to Overlook Horizon. I'm going too fast. Or just head to overlookhorizon.com if you want to learn more about our flights and the stuff that we do. Okay. All right. I was trying to get there's my sales pitch for you. Got it out there. Anyways, I had fun. I always have fun with these things. Appreciate everybody following along. This was fun. We got to do a Kerbal session sometime coming up. Maybe we'll try doing one of those the next couple days. But anyways, thank you. Appreciate it. It was fun. But I'm going to end this here for now so that you guys can all get on with the rest of your evenings. But appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys. Have a good night. See ya.